So we will start the session by paying our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is founder Acharya of ISKCON. And we'll also seek blessings from our spiritual masters, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj and His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. We are on our journey on the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is titled as Karma Yoga. And there are a total of 43 verses in this chapter. And for the sake of convenience, we have divided this chapter into 5 sections. So far we have covered the first 3 sections. And today we'll try to finish the 4th section, which is Nishkam Karma Yoga, to set the right example. And we will try to embark on the 5th section, which is conquering lust, which is the greatest enemy. Okay. So I just want to check if there is any question on the previous sections which we have covered so far. Okay. So basically the chapter started with, Arjuna's confusion, which of the two he should do, he should renounce or he should go ahead and fight, right? And then Krishna highlighted that for him, premature renunciation is not what is advisable, right? Anyhow, he will have to work, right? So rather than working without purified senses, rather than renouncing without purified senses, it's better to sincerely do your prescribed responsibilities. And then, Arjuna thought like, if there would be any sins involved, if he conducts his prescribed duties, then Krishna says, do your prescribed duties as an offering to me, right? In the 9th verse of this chapter, where Krishna specifically said that you do your duty for satisfaction of Vishnu, right? And in that way, you will not incur sin. So then Krishna highlighted that, I have created this whole universe specifically so that people can perform yajna, right? And by cooperation between man and demigod, there will be prosperity. But if man doesn't, offer back things as yajna, then, they will be as good as thieves, right? And then Krishna says that one should only partake food which have been offered to Krishna. Okay? And if we don't follow the cycle of sacrifice, then it will be considered as a sinful life. And thereafter, Krishna talked about a self-realized soul, that a self-realized soul has no duty to perform. But even then, he will work with detachment, right? For setting an example. And then, he gives example of Janak Maharaj. And then he says that, a devotee, a Krishna conscious person should work to set an example, because, there are many people who will follow the leaders in the society, right? And devotee should act in a way that it is exemplary for others to follow. Right? We should be spotless. We should set example. So that is what. And then Krishna finally said that even I, here Krishna for the first time established himself as a supreme personality. That he has no duty, nothing to do, doesn't expect anything. But even then, he's involved in his prescribed duties. Right? So. It is important for us to understand that, right? How we should be working without expecting any result. Right? And then and then he says, if he doesn't work, then it will create chaos in the society. And thereafter, Krishna says that one should act without attachment, right? And then at the same time, he says that we should not disturb the ignorant people, who are working with attachment. Rather, by working in a spirit of Krishna consciousness, we should set an example and then gradually help them in the path of Krishna consciousness. So, and then in 3.30, Krishna highlights for the first time putting himself in the center, that that we should work for his satisfaction. We should work for him without having any type of attachment, any type of the desire of being a proprietor or any desire of having any profit out of what you're doing, right? And Krishna says that those who follow this advice, they are very dear to me, and they will not be, they will not be caught with the cycle of karma bandhana. But people who behave with envy and who do not have faith on these teachings, they will not be happy. All the endeavors will be ruined, right? So basically, Krishna so far has highlighted that how we should perform our duties, how we should work in a spirit of karma yoga, right? So, as mentioned, like today, we'll try to cover the following verses, verse 33 to 35 of this section, and thereafter we'll start the last section, right? So, this section, do you have any question?
Yeah, Sumit, I have one question related to that free will, what you have explained last week. So the Jiva desires and Paramatma validates and sanctions, and then material nature, I mean the Prakriti executes that by the combination of three modes of material nature. Mm-hmm. So is that free will? Just the question is because I think all our intellect or what we are today, it is based on our past samskaras, right? So what is the difference between that and the free will? You said that there is always the free will for the jiva that Krishna doesn't control. Mm-hmm. He can desire at his own will. That's what something you mentioned last week, which I am not able to understand.
So what is the confusion? Can you again repeat?
Confusion is the free will, right? Because it is all based on our samskaras, our thoughts, our intellect, act, and the combination of three modes of material nature. So where is this free will coming from? So we can desire irrespective of our past samskaras. We can desire whatever we want. I know it is validated by Paramatma, but I'm not able to understand the free will.
I'll explain you with a very simple example. Okay. Now, because of our past karmas, right? We were supposed to get wet in a rain, right? There is a rainfall, and we were supposed to get wet, right? But due to our present karmas, right, we can protect ourselves. There will be a rain, right? But we can protect ourselves from getting wet by using an umbrella, right? So if the jivas didn't have any desire, then even there would not be any past karmas. If it was just the super soul and the prakriti, then where was the jiva, right? The past karmas, or the reaction of past karmas we are facing also is dependent of what desire we had in past lives, right? Right? Because of what we are facing now. And if we didn't have any independence, we have independence which is minute in quantity, right? While Krishna is Swarat, he is fully independent, We have, because we are his Ansha, we also have that independence, but we have in Anuman, we have minute independence, right? So that is basically, which is because now why is there? Why also what is the whole purpose of this independence? The whole purpose of this independence is because Krishna, if Krishna didn't give us that independence, then we will be like a robot. And there will not be any loving reciprocation with the robot and Krishna. Krishna wants us to use this minute independence to love him, to serve him. But if we decide against that, if we use this minute independence to enjoy independent of Krishna, that is where we get entangled. So that is why the minute independence is always and will always be there. And because Krishna wants us to independently decide what we want to do. But, right, while we can desire so many things, right? For example, we have a desire to build Taj Mahal for our family, for example, right? If you want to build a Taj Mahal, you should have money, you should have resources, right? You can desire so many things, but Krishna will sanction those desires based on our worth, And if Krishna so desires, if Krishna so sanctions that, okay, we this desire can be sanctioned, then Krishna will sanction it, and then material nature will facilitate or execute it for us. So that is where the free will or minute independence is.
Okay. So it is independent of our past actions and reactions. That's why it is called as free will, because ultimately Krishna takes charge whatever we desire, right? Ultimately it doesn't, just like that, it doesn't get fulfilled. So
I just explained that you desire to have a Taj Mahal, right? But because of your assets, what are these assets? The past karma.
yes.
Right? So the past karma are not going to go anywhere. They
Yes.
are going to be there. But that doesn't mean that you cannot desire. You can desire, but dependent on the assets you have with you, dependent on your past karmas, on your present karmas, right? Krishna will then decide whether it can be sanctioned or not. And if so, if Krishna so desires that it can be sanctioned, then Prakriti will execute. So past karmas are there. They are not.
Yeah, they are there, and it will materialize based on that. But you can still, you have the part, that small component of the free will.
Yeah, the desire.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it clear?
So yeah, it is clear. So that means, suppose if we have to effectively utilize that desire for the purpose of Lord, then all this, the Krishna consciousness and all will make sure that we will be docile towards that, right? Is there something?
That is what Krishna is giving us an option. That is what he's saying. Like, for example, Shanmukh will 5 rupees to Hasini, right? To go and buy something from outside, right? Now, Hasini has that 5 rupees and Hasini has that instruction from father, right? Now, similarly, we have that desire. Shanmukh has n number of money in his bank account, but he gave 5 rupees to Hasini to do something. Krishna has full independence, but he gave us minute independence to do something. 3.10, he says, I created this universe so that men can perform yajna, by which they can stay happily in this world and can come back to me. So Krishna gave that us. Now Hasini, instead of going to the market and buying that particular thing which father has said her to buy, she goes and does something else. So, although she had direction, although the money was given by Papa, but then she decides to use her own independence, right? The independence was there, that she follows the instructions of father or she doesn't, right? And then she buys something. Then what will happen? Then, okay, then Shanmugji will say, why did we do? So again, it will be like, next time when you give, it will be with limited capacity maybe, right? So the example is that we will always have that minute independence, right? And depending on, and that minute independence actually creates our karma.
Yes, clear.
And I had shared that slide deck about modes of nature with all of you, because this modes of nature will keep coming. And that is why we covered that in the 7th section of our introductory sessions, right? So that will give you a good idea, I would say, a basic understanding of what these 3 modes are, and how do they impact, how do they affect us, how do they control us, what is their role, how can we overcome them, right? So, because that would have been a session in itself, so I thought I would rather share the slide deck with all of you so that you can just go through that, right? And that understanding will be required for us to discuss even today's session. So today we will try to cover working according to one's nature, right? Now, and we also covered this, that now people, they who have faith on Krishna, who are not envious, they will follow Krishna's teachings, while there are people, who will disregard his teachings, right? And we have examples of them. Now, if we understand that if we don't follow Krishna's instruction, we will be liable to punishment, right? So does that always happen that, because of this punishment, we will not do any sinful act? No.
No.
Okay. So first, it seems that people are impelled to act sinfully. Their past habits and impressions, right? Vasanas and sanskaras. So what then to speak of people who have no knowledge? So, and we discussed this slide also, that how a habit, is manifested. It basically starts from thought to action to an experience, and then if you do that again and again, it forms habit, and you like to associate with like-minded people, right? And that thought actually becomes more and more and more strong, and the habit actually is kind of imprinted, right? And it's really then difficult to stop that, right? So we'll come to today's verse, which is verse number 33. Someone will like to read it?
Sadrisham chestat Hare Krishna. Sadrisham chestate swaya swasyaha prakrutir jnanavan api prakrutim yanti bhutani niragraha kim karishyati.
Yeah, like I will request if all of you can put on your videos, that will be helpful. Right? And can someone also read the translation?
Hi, Sumit. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from 3 modes. What can repression accomplish?
Thank you very much. So this is very important verse because the way Karmanyavadika Raste is very common and highly misquoted. Similarly, this verse is quoted by a section of people because of the line Nigraha Kim Karishyati. Now, Sadrasham Chestate Shahaha Swasyaha Prakarte Gyanvan Api Prakartim Yanti Bhutani Nigraha Kim Karishyati. That it seems that even a man of knowledge is somehow forced to act according to his nature. Prakartim Yanti Bhutan. Right? Because why a man of knowledge means Prakarte Gyanvan Api. Person who is in knowledge also is sort of like, conditioned to act as per his nature. Then Nigraha Kim Karishyati. Then what is the role of repression? How repression cannot achieve any result. So repression means to try to control something, right? Now, the thing is Nigraha Kim Karishyati. So every one of us have a deep-rooted conditioned nature due to contact with material nature. Right? Now here, the word Prakriti, which was mentioned, Prakriti Yanti Bhutani or Prakriti Gyanvan Api, right? In this, the word Prakriti means material nature, right? Nature means what is the word basically nature means is
Prakriti.
It's like it does not mean the vasana like kam, krodh, lobh, moh and all. Right? Those are known as vasana, as different from prakriti. So here in this verse, Krishna is not talking about vasanas, which are like kam, krodh, lobh, moh. Right? Here we are talking about the material nature, and one will act according to one's nature, and it cannot be materially replaced, right? Now, we have put forward a table for you to explain the difference between the two, because it is very important for us to not get confused by it, right? So there are two things, our varna ashram, So which are the four varnas?
Grahastha, Ashram.
Four varnas.
Brahmana, Kshatriya, Shudra, and Vaishya.
Right. The four varnas. And those varnas are dependent on what?
The material
On the modes of nature.
Yes, modes of nature. And we should be very clear that they are not dependent on which family we are born in, right? Because Krishna himself says in 4.13 that they are dependent on the psychophysiological nature of a person, right? And it does not depend on the birth of a person. Chaturvarna Maya system, guna karma vibhagashaha. Guna karma, right? Psychophysical nature of a person. It is dependent on the psychophysical, and Krishna says that I have created this, right? So this material nature is actually difficult to be overcome, right? Or to be replaced. And it is something which is very deeply rooted. It is innate to our psychophysiological nature, right? And it can be easily harmonized with a dharma. Now, let me explain you before I go forward. For example, a Brahmana, a Brahmana is involved in many activities, in so-called rituals, and teaching people, depending on his nature, because that is his psychophysiological nature. And a Kshatriya and Brahmanas are primary in mode of goodness. Kshatriya, they also have mode of goodness, but primarily they are in mode of passion, with a mixture of mode of goodness. Now, Kshatriyas are involved in what? Administration, right? Managing, controlling people, right? Administering punishments and all that. Now, and these particular natures are, deeply rooted in them. For example, here Arjun, being a Kshatriya, his nature was, administration, management, leadership skills, right? He was supposed to run the country, right? That was his nature. And if he wanted to renounce and become a Brahmana, that would be something very artificial to him. He will not be able to conduct like, what a Brahmana. It is not something intrinsic to his nature. So that is where it is said, Nigraha kim karishyati, that you cannot artificially suppress it, but you can utilize whatever your skills are, whatever your varna is, for dharma. And just by utilizing your nature in dharma, you will be successful. It's easy, right? While if you just artificially try to do someone else's job, you will fail miserably, and we say in Hindi, na ghar ka, na ghat ka, right? So that is what happens. So that is what Krishna is basically saying, right? What we have to do is, rather than we have to dovetail it in Krishna consciousness services. Right? Now, as different from Prakriti, which is our Varna, the Vasanas. Vasanas are material desires like Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, right? These are material desires, and they are superficial to our psychophysical nature. They are not, sort of innate, very deeply rooted. They are superficial. And these things like Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, we cannot, they are not in harmony with the dharma. It's difficult. Someone who is not in Krishna consciousness, they will make him crazy, right? And these things needs to be rejected. So while our innate nature cannot be suppressed, it has to be dovetailed. Vasanas needs to be suppressed. It is not that Krishna is saying that vasanas cannot be suppressed. Krishna is saying nature cannot be suppressed. We have to understand Prakriti is our nature. Krishna, when he uses the word Prakriti, is primarily for modes of material nature, which actually defines our Varna. Right? Now, why was it important to explain? Because you might have heard or seen many societies, they say endless sense enjoyment, endless sense gratification. Don't suppress. Enjoy, enjoy, and enjoy. So-called spiritual organizations, so-called. So that
yoga from bhoga.
Yoga from bhoga. Yeah. See. So that is happening, unfortunately. People are trying to twist the words and intent of Krishna for their own sense enjoyment, sense gratification. Right. Now, what may happen though is the vasanas, right? They can affect the varnas of a person. So a Kshatriya, Brahmana, Shudra, a Vaishya may get infected by these vasanas, right? Therefore, it is important to regulate, follow the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma, of spiritual life, to, to reject, suppress these vasanas, right? So this is important for all of us to understand, because when a person is in knowledge, he will continue to act according to his varna, but will have to control the vasanas. Now, what about our services? People usually ask, which varna are we in? Am I in? In Kali Yuga, earlier there were schools, gurukuls, who will do, study, deep study on it, and they will tell you. But here, somehow, we have to explore this. Like, for example, you might have seen in your own career pathways, in your own companies, in your own professions or business, that a person who is good at one thing may not be good in other thing. For example, there are many individual performers who are excellent in performing, their task, but they will fail miserably if you make them leaders, right? And there will be other way around. There may be good leaders who will fail miserably if you ask them to perform, certain technical tasks, yeah, right? They will fail. So in our home also, like if Matajis are involved in cooking, right, and husband is busy in going out, working, earning money. Now, if we try to change these positions, it will be a total failure. And there was a Hindi movies when we were very small. There was a Hindi movie where this was. I even know that Sanjeev Kumar, I think so, was there, and they had some fight between husband and wife, and they both miserably failed when they tried to change their positions, right? So that is where Krishna is saying here that it is very difficult to change the innate nature of a person. But there is a special condition in which that can be done. And Prabhupada quotes that in his purport. So someone will read this.
Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the 7th chapter, verse number 7.14.
Devi Yasha Gunmai Maya Durattaya Mam Eviye Prapatyante Maya Mekam Taranti Te. Krishna says, Devi Yasha Gunmai. This Devi, nowadays Navdurga going on, right? This Navaratri. So we went out for book distribution. In the Durga temple is there, here, there. So they are all worshipping Devi Ji. But people, they don't know this Devi is actually whose Devi. It is Krishna's Devi. Devi Yasha Gunmai. Krishna says in 7.14 that this Devi is one of my Devis, one of my ministers. She's working under my direction. Devi Yasha Gunmai Mammaya Durattaya. Oh, it's very difficult to overcome. Very difficult to overcome her. Mamayeviye prapadyante. But someone who surrenders onto me, Maya Metam Tarantite. For him, it is very easy to cross over this material nature to this Devi. Right? So we are not required to independently worship any demigod. If we water the root of the tree, the leaves will be satisfied. Similarly, if we just surrender onto Krishna, all the demigods will be satisfied. Right? And that is the stage when we can overcome our material nature. If we are in pure Krishna conscious platform, on that platform under the direction of your spiritual master, you can be asked to do any services and you will be able to do that because you are at that time at a pure state. So that is important. That is what Prabhupada is highlighting, right? And also Prabhupada highlights this. Someone will like to read it?
Therefore, sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and to try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya.
Is it clear?
It looks like that. Don't be pretender.
It will be artificial.
Mithyachari.
Vidhyachar, 6th verse, number 6.
So, we should do our work under the supervision, under superior's training, right? So rather than trying to, that Falgu Vairag, Markat Vairag we say, Shamshan Vairag we say, or we say sometimes, you have just been introduced to spirituality and that renunciation comes. Or everything is useless and hold on. Try to, take a gradual step, work under superior's direction, right? Prabhupada here says, no one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificial, right? Because otherwise, this is going to happen what we are seeing. If we are going to, we will fall down from that platform, right? So it is better to be situated in one's position and to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. Devi Asha Gunmai. Krishna's Maya. Devi Asha. So, then Krishna says, now in this verse, Krishna talked about nature, our Varna. Next verse, Krishna is talking about the Vasanas. Okay, that is important. So, someone will like to read this?
There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization.
Right. Someone will also like to read the Sanskrit words?
Indriyashendriyasyardhe ragadveshau vyavasthitau tayornavasam agachet tauhyasya paripantinau.
So, Indriyasya arthe. Indriyasya, what is Indriya?
Senses.
And Indriyarthe?
Sense objects.
Right? The senses and the sense object. Raga dveshe vyavasthitau. So, Raga and Dvesh. Rag means rag, attachment. Dvesh means
Hatred.
attachment. So, people, have to control vyavasthitau. Vyavasthitau means control under the regulations, the principles. We have to control this attachment and aversion. Tayorna vasham agache. What? That we should never come in control of these vasanas. What are these vasanas? That when our senses are attracted to the sense objects, right? So we have to be careful. And why? Because Teruvasya Paripanthino. What? Paripanthino. What is this Paripanthino? Because they are stumbling blocks. They are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So here in this verse, Krishna is talking about vasanas. Right? And therefore, if you see in the society of Krishna consciousness, all the devotees are requested to follow 4 regulative principles, right? No intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, no illicit relationship. Because these are stumbling blocks. As I have already told you, this mind control chart is totally based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, right? And here Krishna is highlighting what we should do. What do you mean by attachment? What attachment are we talking?
Attachment to the sense objects.
Attachment to the object. And what is aversion?
Detachment to the sense objects.
No.
No.
For example, someone is doing some filthy thing, right? And the sadhu comes. Sadhu says, don't do this. Don't do this nonsense. And then you will walk away from that sadhu. You will not listen to. So attachment to the sense gratificatory things, and aversion, hatred to people who are trying to help you. Explain.
That's
Huh?
true.
Radha Dveshe Vivasita, right? So there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion, right? So that is why it is said that we have to follow 4 regulative principles. And what will facilitate in following the 4 regulative principles is sadhu sangha, association of devotees. Yeah? So, and one should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion. Like if we are in control, if we are not able to, control our senses, then it will be difficult. They will be like what? Paripanthino. They will be stumbling blocks in the path of our spiritual journey. And Prabhupada has explained this very nicely in the purport, and we have tried to pull some points here. So someone would like to read this?
Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. So little it's not seen. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled. Not able to see the picture fully, sir. Sorry, sir.
Oh, is it
Yes, it's too big. Or 1 second.
same for everyone?
Does not become entangled by the sense objects. I'll read again, sir, and excuse me. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is a cause of material engagement, but one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness.
So this is easy or difficult state? Easily understood.
It is mentioned that we should elevate ourselves from the karma kanda, though we are doing it through the regulator sense enjoyment to the Krishna's consciousness. So that is what I understood.
Yeah. For
I
example,
think it's also talking about removing the negative attachment and developing the positive attachment towards Krishna.
yes, important point also. And Prabhupada here is understanding the practical challenges that the sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very, very long time. We have been enjoying so many millions of births, right? So it is difficult. And even though we follow certain rules and regulations for a restricted sense enjoyment, there is always uh, uh, a chance, a probability of falling down, right? Therefore, any attachment for regulative sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. So sometimes, for example, in a married life, sometimes it is not a license for free enjoyment. That is what Prabhupada is saying. That even though, the sense enjoyment is allowed in a way, Grahast ashram is relatively liberal in comparison to the other three ashrams. But even in the Grahast ashram, we should think that we are living in an ashram, right? And because if we can fall prey to these tendencies anytime, right? So that is what Prabhupada is highlighting. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense enjoyment is ultimately to become situated. And we have seen that how will this sense enjoyment tendency can be curbed or controlled. We know that
By being a Sthita Prajna.
yes, by being a Sthita Prajna. Yukta asita matpara, right? By engaging all the things in higher principles, all the senses in higher principles. That way, we will be able to better control things. Okay. So this verse specifically is talking about the vasanas, that we should control them. Right? Previous words, nigraha kim karishyati, was about your varna, your nature. This is all about your desires. Right? Now we will move on to the next verse, which is 3.35. Who would like to read this?
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Distraction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
So
it comes out as in the form of dandruff. And this is allergic some atopic.
So here, basically Krishna is summarizing that, right? What we discussed, that it is better to discharge one's prescribed duties. Why? Because they are as per your nature. Right? Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engages in another duty. To follow another's path is dangerous. Why? Destruction in one's own duty means, for example, even if Arjuna gives up his life, he will achieve heaven, attain heaven, right? Rather he going and begging and then doing nonsense things, right? That is foolishness. So, because we should be engaged in our duty as per our psychophysical nature. And Chetan Charan Prabhu highlights that our services should be such that internally they are giving us satisfaction, and externally we are competent in those services. And devotional service or Krishna consciousness doesn't mean that we have to end up doing something against our nature. That is not Krishna consciousness. That that is not the definition of Krishna consciousness. Sometimes we think that a surrendered soul or a transcendentalist or a sincere devotee means that now we can be versatile. We can just do everything and anything. No. You should try to do what you what is good for you, what is helping you, right? While your spiritual master, your counselor and mentor, as Prabhupada has quoted in his previous purport, they can also help you and guide you, right? Because they can see that what are the limitations or inhibitions, right, in you, and they can help you, right? That is why to have a spiritual master or a counselor is very important in our spiritual life. And whatever, whether it is a spiritual duty as given by your spiritual master or your prescribed material duty, we should, Prabhupada writes in the purport that we should stick to our path, right, rather than imitating another's prescribed duty. Okay. So to summarize these 3 verses, everyone of us have a deep-rooted conditioned nature due to contact with material nature. Right? Now, one should not come under the control of attachment or aversion, which are the 2 obstacles in path of self-realization. So we should follow the principles, right? The 4 regulative principles. Yeah. Material duties are as per our psychophysical conditions under the modes. Under modes, the modes. This is some mistake. So I'll correct this. The spiritual duties are as ordered by Guru for Lord's service. Then, however, whether material or spiritual, one should stick to prescribed duty until death. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. There should be a gradual process. So try to stick to your things. Don't take any hasty action. It is always better to discuss with your seniors, with your counselor, with your spiritual master, with devotees. If there's something going wrong, they will help you, right? They understand because they have seen these things. So yeah. Now Prabhupada talks about transcendentalists. We talk like transcendentalists, they can overcome their nature. They can be versatile, they can do things. And we discussed this briefly when Padmaji asked that question last time, right? You remember that Vishwamitra, what was he primarily?
King, actually, originally.
Kshatriya.
Rajarishi.
He was a Kshatriya king.
Yes, sir. Kshatriya.
Thereafter, when he had some confusion with Vasishtha Muni, he wanted to also become a Brahmarishi.
Yes.
Right? He read that in Ramayana. And then he actually became a transcendentalist. Right? So, because he was a transcendentalist, he could do that. So always remember, see, Bhagavad Gita is very practical, very scientific. Krishna has already told in previous verses, a leader need to be followed. You cannot imitate a leader, right? So don't try to imitate Krishna or Vishwamitra or Parashuram. We are not on that platform. Right? And Parashuram, by his nature, he was a Brahmana, right? But then, because he's a transcendentalist, he's a Shaktya Shakta, he could also act as a Kshatriya. Right? Okay. So now we'll move on to the last section of this chapter, which is conquering lust. Now, the lust is the greatest enemy for our spiritual advancement. Because if someone is involved in karma yoga, it cannot become yoga until unless we overcome the lust component. It will end up to be karma or even vikarma, right? So we have to really manage this one, which is the greatest enemy. And how can we control this? By following the rules and regulations, right? Krishna already talked about this in 3.34 about Raga and Dvesha. And now Arjun will specifically ask this. What will he ask? That how to manage this. Sometimes, so we are already coming that sometimes as if we are forced to act in a sinful way. Why does it happen? And how can we manage that? So, although in the scriptures it is said we should not do this, sometimes we fall prey to it. Even knowingly, we tend to do sinful activities. So let's see what this is. Someone would like to read?
Arjuna Uvacha Atha Kena Prayuktoyam Papam Charati Purushaha Anichinnapi Varshneya Baladivan Niyojitaha. O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
Anha atha kena parayukteyam. That by what one is impelled. By what one is impelled. Papam charati purusha. Impelled for what? To do sinful activities. Anichcham api vashneya. Without ichha. Anichcha. Without desire. As if without desire. Balat eva niyojita. Someone as if is pushing you. Someone is forcing you to do. Why does it happen? So someone who is addicted to drinking, will the bottle walk and open your mouth and go directly? If anichcham, what does anichcha means?
Without
No desire.
Yeah, without his desire. Yeah.
If there is no desire, how will the bottle go in the mouth? How will the alcohol go in the mouth?
That means they say it has become probably his habit. He is addicted completely.
So that is what happens. Addiction. See, because of our past sinful tendencies, we have been involved in these things for long. It becomes our habit, addiction. And then even if we try to control, these things happen again and again, right? So Prabhupada writes this, although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, felt by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. So it does not mean that super soul is forcing you to do this, right? It is either, it may be because of exposure, right? Exposure to some provocative things, right? So what happened with Ajamil, and there are so many things. Poor Ajamil was, at that time there were no billboards, no advertisement, right? Here we see advertisement every now and then. Even if you don't have a television, don't want to see, you go out on the road, you will not escape. Even without advertisement, normally also. So it is very difficult, right? And it is actually one of the most practical sections. The way that section, Sthit Pragya section, was very practical for us as sadhakas. This section is also very practical because all of us actually come across these challenging situations, right? So Krishna now starts answering this. Someone would like to recite this?
Hare Krishna.
Please.
Kama yesha krodha yesha rajo guna samudbhavah mahasanam mahapapma vidyena miha vairinam. Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world."
So Krishna here is saying that what is that which forces you to act sinfully? And Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjun. It is lust. And you remember that verse 62 and 63 of second chapter.
Yes.
Anna, there Krishna explained the whole sequence of affairs. How from contemplation we develop attachment. And if that keeps coming, you develop lust. And if lust is not fulfilled, what happens? Krodha. And if lust is fulfilled, then develops greed.
Greed.
And after Krodha, what happens?
Some
Bewilderment.
bewilderment.
Memory
Fall.
will be bewildered.
And finally, person falls down in the net.
Falls down.
So Krishna is saying that this lust is all devouring enemy. Mahashano. Mahashano means all devouring. Mahapapa, greatly sinful. Vidhyenam iha verina. You should know. Verina means
Enemy.
enemy. Greatest enemy.
Greatest time.
This is the cause of fall down. And we have tried to show it in the wait. So here if you see, what happens, initially we all have love for Krishna. This Prabhupada has explained this in the purport. So initially all of us have our natural love for Krishna. But as soon as we come in contact with this material world, specifically in association with the mode of passion, that love for Krishna transforms into lust. And we saw that if that lust is not satisfied, it will cause anger, wrath. Right? And that wrath develops illusion. And if we are under illusion, then we don't know what is wrong and what is right. Fall down into the cycle of material existence. Right? So Prabhupada explains that instead of coming down from mode of passion to mode of ignorance, see, anger is in mode of ignorance, right? And this love transformed into lust in what? In contact with mode of passion. So instead of following this cycle, we should try to transform passion into goodness, mode of goodness. How to do that?
By engaging in devotional service, I think.
Devotion.
By
Following,
controlling the senses, by controlling the senses.
not artificial, but engage. Services mentioned in that mind control chart, reading, hearing, chanting. Now we are doing some active services. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, Ashish ji, Nikita ji, Shanmukh ji, Rajesh ji, all came for book distribution. right? These services, they give so much of pleasure to your heart, because you see that I am, because otherwise it is, at our stage, it is all theoretical. But when you do some active services for Krishna, that is where actual transformation happens. When you, even though you are not able to give book to anyone, but your even attempt, Krishna doesn't see the outcome. He will see your attempt, right? So your attempt to go on streets to distribute books, and why does it please Krishna so much? Because it pleases Prabhupada. Prabhupada wanted that if someone wants to please me, distribute my books. Why? Because he knew that if someone gets the book, today or tomorrow, his life will be transformed. We have many examples of devotees who became from fully atheistic to full devotee just by reading one book of Prabhupada. Prabhupada has written, and not Indians, I'm talking about foreigners who didn't know ABCD of Vedic culture, just by reading. This Bhagavad Gita, we find it so difficult to understand. Even though we are born in Bharatvarsh, those people, they just by reading it, they fully transform their lives. They start chanting, they start following the 4 regulative principles, they start doing everything. We have one Mataji in Siberia. She somehow got that photocopy of Bhagavad Gita. Somehow she got. She read and it transformed. So we all should be coming forward. We all should try to come forward to do some active service. Like earlier, we used to go in the temple to clean utensils. To I used to go to bring to collect flowers for Krishna. I used to go at 3:30, 4 o'clock from my house. There is a market in Bangalore. Every Saturday, that was my seva. For 1 year or 2 years, I did that seva. Every day, we used to go there. So we should do some active service for Krishna. Like any service, whatever it is, that brings you closer to Krishna. And that will actually help us, to control ourselves, to utilize our skill set for Krishna. Prabhupada highlights this: the Supreme Personality of Godhead expended himself into many of his ever increasing spiritual bliss. And the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. Now, why Prabhupada didn't say that we are part and parcel of Krishna? Why Prabhupada is saying we are part and parcel of his spiritual bliss? You know why? Because Krishna is what Shanmugji question, what he asked today. Minute independence. Krishna is Om Swarat. He is fully independent. He is in full spiritual bliss. Our spiritual bliss is dependent on him. If we try to be happy, independent of Krishna, then we fall down in the material world. Because we are also seeking bliss. But if we seek bliss in a wrong way, then we will fall down. We can be happy only in connection with Krishna, eternally happy. Otherwise, we have learned in our introductory session, and today also I shared with you that mode of nature slide that. In that, if you see 18.3678, that something which gives pleasure in the beginning, but pain in the end, is in mode of passion. Something which gives pain in the beginning, but pleasure in the end, is in mode of goodness. Something which gives you pleasure from beginning to end is mode of ignorance.
Mode of goodness is mode of sattva.
Sattva, Rajoguna and Tamogun. So, we can be happy, we can be blissful. Only our bliss is also dependent on Krishna. We have to use that minute independence to dovetail everything in connection with Krishna. Right? How? Who is this? Hanumanji Maharaj. Hanumanji used everything in service of Ram. Everything. He even used his anger. Someone will like to read this?
Hanuman, the greatest. Go ahead.
Using passion into Krishna's service. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Ram, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so, he can become the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord.
Right? How can you fight without being angry? And then?
Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna service, in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies.
Right. So, Hanumanji and Arjun became the greatest devotee by utilizing their anger in services of Krishna and Ram. And gopis of Vrindavan, they became the topmost devotees by giving their love to Krishna. Right? Therefore, we have to transform these things, everything, in service of Krishna. Right? So that is very important. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that someone who tries to be happy by these material things, finally, he only achieves what? Frustration. And when one attains to frustration, then he will realize that is there anything else? Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Then he will try to have Brahma Jigyasa. Should I try to understand about Supreme Personality of Godhead? And then when one goes, sometimes it may be already too late. Right? So now when we have got this opportunity, we should start utilizing this opportunity in Krishna's service. Okay. So this was the last slide for today. I just want to check if you have any questions or any comments, any suggestions.
So maybe one question. So from the example of Parshurama and Vishwamitra, it is mentioned that the person in the transcendental plane, he can act beyond his nature required by the three modes of material nature. So for example, Parshurama, Brahmana acted as a king, a Kshatriya, and Vishwamitra vice versa. So, and at the same time, we mentioned that even the person in supreme intelligence, I think, complete knowledge, has to act as per, he's forced to act as per his nature. Right? He cannot act. I mean, he's forced to act as per his nature. So what is the difference between the transcendentalist and the person in the full knowledge? Why one can act beyond his nature and another person cannot act? And the other question is it true that there is no, is it true that by no way, for example, we gave so many examples, right? In our organization, some person is good at doing something, but he may not be having skills to do the other thing. Is it true that the person who is good with those abilities and all can never work beyond his abilities? I mean, we are drawing a line how because we have seen, but it is possible, but I just wanted to understand spiritually how it is possible.
So, Shanmugji, open 7.14.
Yes. Yes, Sumit, I have opened.
Read that. Translation.
Purport.
Translation.
Okay. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it.
So this is the answer of your question number 1.
Yes.
Right. Now, please try to understand. Devi Asha Gunmai Mam Maya Duruktaya Mama Evi Prapatte Maya Metam Taranti. These three modes of material nature. These three modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome. Three modes of material nature are forcing us, right? We talked about, Krishna talks about modes of nature. One should, Nigraham Kim Karishya. Repression will not help us to achieve anything. Right? Why? Prakriti, nature. It's our innate nature. Difficult, right? But Krishna says in 7.14, who can overcome? Someone who has surrendered onto it. Not someone who has some knowledge. Now I will explain you the difference, right? So surrender means someone who is like, if we are talking about Parashuram, who was Parashuram? He was Shaktave Shaktar. Who was Vishwamitra Muni? He was a Brahma Rishi, right? So they are fully surrendered, right? They are pure devotees of highest standard, right? So they are fully surrendered onto Krishna. And someone who is fully surrendered onto Krishna, the modes don't act upon that. Krishna has said that. Maya Meta Taranti. Okay. Now, what was your second question, Shanmugji? Shanmugji stuck. Harsha? What was the second question? Do you remember?
No, Sumit, I don't recollect. No.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Shanmugji will join again.
So this is something that we discussed, Sumit, right? Like the water content in the calf's hoof print, and it will be easier for a devotee to cross that Bhavasagar of material nature. Yeah, I think the same thing that you probably explained just now. Yeah.
Right. So,
And so does someone's varna also impact someone's like lust, kam, krodh, moha, matsar?
see, anyone can get impacted, right? Now, but the chances of controlling or the modes or the way the person will control may differ, right? For example, now Kshatriya, if is angry, and if you say you be in mode of goodness, for him anger is required, right, to execute his responsibility, right? Now for Shudra, if you ask him to be very pure and very clean, as good as Brahmana, he may find it suffocating, right? So for different varnas, these things are applicable, in a different sense, in a sense that all the four varnas are eligible for practicing spiritual life, right? And if they are practicing spiritual life, all of them are eligible to become pure devotees, and not only pure devotees, they can even become guru, right? So we have seen example like yesterday we posted a video of our devotee of Panduranga.
Yeah. Chokha Mela.
Pamela. There are many-
Valmiki Rishi.
Valmiki Rishi, right? So there are many examples. Shanmukh-ji, you have joined?
I have joined. I lost my.
So what was your second question?
I think the first question itself answers that.
I thought so. It did. Yeah. Okay. Any other question or any comment?
Sumit-ji?
Yeah.
Krishna says, I am the soul in all living beings,
Mhm.
that is moving and non-moving. Then the difference is coming only at the senses and sense objects level. All these differences are coming.
All that?
Each one is behaving in a different way. All that is coming only at the senses and sense objects level. Because Krishna says he is the soul in all living beings, living and moving and non-moving also.
He's the Paramatma, super soul.
Super soul.
Oh,
The soul that is there in all living beings is not the super soul.
no. Soul is different from super soul.
Isn't it a small part of the super soul which has all qualities just like that?
Yes. Qualitatively, very nice question. So qualitatively, the soul is as good as the super soul.
Yes.
Quantitatively, we are different. For
Yes.
example, a ocean and a drop of
Water.
water.
Yes,
In the ocean, Titanic can
Go. Yeah.
go? Huh?
Yes.
Drop of ocean can it?
No, it cannot.
So your ring, finger ring.
Yes,
gold.
sir.
But
Yes.
gold, qualitatively they are same, but
Yes,
quantitatively
sir.
they are different.
Yes, sir.
Krishna is Swarat, Purna Swarat. Krishna
Yes, sir.
is what? Vibhu, we are Anu. Krishna will explain that we are all his eternal parts and parcels. He says that in Bhagavad Gita.
Yes, sir.
Mave
Yes,
vanshi
sir.
loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We will
Yes,
be
sir.
eternal parts and parcel, eternal part and
Yes,
parcel.
sir.
So the soul is eternal part and parcel of the super soul, the Krishna.
Yes, sir.
है ना?
Yes,
So
sir.
soul qualitatively is also Satchit Ananda,
Yes, sir.
full of knowledge, full of bliss, and full and eternal.
Yes, sir.
But we can fall prey. We are Anu. We can fall. We can come under Maya, but Krishna cannot.
Yes, sir.
For example, sun is there and clouds are there. The cloud can stop our vision of the sun, but cloud cannot sufficiently cover the entire sun ever,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? Therefore, soul can come under the Maya, but Paramatma can never come.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's the difference. Now, what you are saying, that Krishna says that I am soul in all the hearts,
Yes, sir.
is basically Krishna describes his opulences in chapter number 10,
Okay.
right? Where Krishna says that I am Airavat of the elephant, I am this and this, right? He explains many things, right? I am chanting of holy names in japa, where Krishna is describing that he's best of everything.
Best of everything. Yes, sir.
So his opulences we are describing.
Yes, sir.
Actually, everything belongs to Krishna, right?
Yes.
Everything has come from Krishna. Even
Yes.
when the material 5 elements have come from Krishna, the 24 elements, right? The sense objects have also come from Krishna. There is
Yes.
nothing which has not come from Krishna, right?
Yes, sir.
Krishna explains in 7.4 and 5. 7.4 he explains that all the 8 material elements,
Yes, sir.
earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, they are his inferior energy.
Mm.
And there is in 7.5 he says there is one more, his superior energy,
Yes, sir.
his living entity, right? And then 7.6 he says that both of them, everything has come from me.
Yes, sir.
Right? So basically, yes, everything has come from Krishna. The soul has also come from Krishna. And, so that is, we have to understand, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains it with Achinta Veda Abheda Tattva. That we are qualitatively one, but quantitatively different. We are same as well as different.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Veda Abheda Tattva.
Achintya Bheda Abheda. Bheda, it is different.
Yes,
Abheda,
sir.
non-different. Tattva.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll look into it, sir. Thank you so much.
Hare. Any other question or comment? So